Okay, good morning. So we're starting Shin Nun Vav. So Din Amas Hamayim Ha'Iveres B'Chotzer. We're talking about a situation where you've got a chotzer and a river, brook of water passes through it. Says the Mechaber, Sif Aleph. Amas Hamayim Ha'Iveres B'Chotzer. A brook of water passes through a chotzer. Amuka Asar Rechava Arba'a. It's 10 tvachim deep and 4 tvachim wide, which we'll see makes it into a caramelus. Ein mamalin mimena b'Shabbos. You can't fill or draw water from that body of water, from that amas hamayim on Shabbos. Elem kain, unless also la mechitza gavei asar b'chnisasu v'yitziasa. Unless you make a mechitza at both sides, the entrance and the exit of the chotzer. V'yitefach mimena mushuka b'mayim, and you've got a tefach of the mechitza in the water. So the best thing to do is look in the picture number. It says here number 5. That's the first picture there. Can you see that? So you've got a chotzer. That's the guy's house, and then you've got the chotzer, and you've got, but on the back of the chotzer, or halfway through it, you've got a brook of water flowing through it. So the guy wants to fill up some water from that river. So he's not allowed to, unless he makes a mechitza at both ends, at the knisa and at the yitzia of that emes hamayim. And can you see that you've got the little mechitza underneath the wall there, and it's 10 tefachim high, and you've got one tefach has got to be in the water. So that's what it means. You're not allowed to take the water from that emes hamayim unless you've got a mechitza which is 10 tefachim high at both ends, and one tefach of that mechitza is submerged in the water. So let's just do the Mishnah Berurah till there. Sif Kotan Aleph. Ha'Iveres b'Chotzer. V'davka kashehi oiveres dahainu shenichneses lechotzer min hatzad ha'echod v'yoytzeis misham min tzad ha'acher v'nekavim sheish tachas haksolim. So you see that the water sort of passes through and it goes underneath the wall there. You can see in the picture from one side to the other. But if a person just has a pool of water in his chotzer or in his garden, you don't need to do anything. You're good to go. Even if it's very wide and deep. So if I've just got a pool of water in my back garden, then there's no problem. It's all part of my Rishus HaYachid. There's no worry whatsoever. I can draw water from there without problem. The problem over here is that it's passing all the way through, and therefore that's it's going to be, you've got to make a mechitza. Amuka asor, says the Mishnah Berurah Sif Cotton Base. Amuka asor rechava arba'od the b'shia zeh nasu hamayim rishus la'atzmon. Because when the shear of this amas hamayim is 10 tefachim deep and 4 tefachim wide, then nasu hamayim rishus la'atzmon v'shem karmelis aleihem. It has the status of a karmelis, kasha yomim, like any other sea. It also has the status of a karmelis, or naharis, or river, or lefichach, and therefore kasha even derech chatzerei, when it passes through his chotzer, also lemalas behen b'Shabbos. The reason why, without making any tikkunim, making a mechitza, you can't draw from it, is because you're taking from a karmelis into a Rishus HaYachid. Avalim eina mukin asara. But if the amas hamayim that is passing through is not 10 tefachim deep, or is not 4 wide, mutze lemalas mehen belishum tikkun, then you're okay. The bottle hu legabe Rishus HaYachid, because then this amas hamayim is a bottle to the Rishus HaYachid. So what have we got here? So if you look at again the picture, footnote number 5, you've got, for those online, you've got a bias, and you've got a chotz in the back of it, and you've got an amas hamayim which is passing through. If it was just contained to your rishus, to your chotz, no problem. You could draw the water. It's just part of the Rishus HaYachid. However, here it's passing through, and if it's deeper than 10 tefachim and wider than 4 tefachim, then it's got the status of a karmelis, and to draw the water from it into your chotzer is a problem, because you're going from a karmelis to Rishus HaYachid. The way to solve it is to put a mechitza, as he's done over there, a mechitza 10 tefachim, and one of those tefachim have got to be in the water. Okay, continuing the Mishnah Berurah, Elim Kain also with Mishnah Berurah Sif Cotton Gimel, to Kivin Shemavdinim Mishah Hamayim Shechutz L'Chotzer, since it's separate, you're being mavdil between the water which is chutz l'chotzer, hamayim shebatoich chotzer b'tein legabo, the ba'alma halekaimin on dechol mashe b'teich ha'mechitzas is rishus yachitu, because generally speaking, whatever is in the mechitzas is your rishus, is a rishus yachid. V'rak b'zeh kashem mechubar ma'mayim shebachutz, but just over here, because it's connected, of course, to the water, which is on either side of the mechitza, on the outside, einam b'teilim v'nasu rishus la'atzman, they've got their own separate status of a karmelis. Masha einkein k'shemavdina. But if you make a mechitza, then you are mavdalit and it's shemush hayochid aleihem, and then it has the status by you making the mechitza. How's it working? It gives it a rishus hayochid, and therefore you could draw into the water into your chotzer. Or mechitza chotzer gufa, and the actual mechitza of the chotzer themselves, i.e. that brick wall in the photo, af im shakua harbe b'mayim, even if it's very sort of deep into the water, ein amoel b'zeh, the b'inshei nirek and nasa b'shvil hamayim. You've got to have a mechitza which is not just for the chotzer, but a mechitza for the water itself. That's how this is going to work. B'chnisas or v'yitziasa, you could do a mechitza on both ends. Rotzolema b'mokum knisas hamayim, where the water comes in, l'chotzer, or b'mokum yitzias hamayim in l'chotzer, and when the water leaves the chotzer. V'akol b'fnim al pnei rechav emes hamayim. We're talking about on the actual. So you're making the mechitza on the surface of the water, i.e., like in the picture. Meshuka b'mayim, and you've got to have one tefach which is submerged in the water. Lachlik ben hamayim shebachutz, to distinguish between the water which is outside, which has the status of a karmelis, and the water which is now on the inside in your chotzer part, which has got the status of Rosh Yochid. Okay, back to the Machaba, second line. Now, if the mechitza that you've constructed is fully submerged in the water, you've got to have at least a tefach of that mechitza which comes out on top of the water. So that is in picture in number 6. Yeah, it's footnote number 6, the second picture on the page, where the mechitza is submerged into the water. So you've got to have at least a tefach which is above the water level. That's picture number 6. Says the Mishnah Berurah, Sifkat involved l'malam minamayim kadesh nikeres k'tzas hamechitza hamafsikason, that it's a little bit recognizable that the mechitza is being mafsik the water. Okay, let's finish off. V'im hischel, I'm back in the Mechaba now, third line. V'im hischel lasus hamechitza esal hasofa. Now, if you begin to make the mechitza on the boundary, mikol tzad v'lo chiber oisa be'emtza kadeshu hamayim nichnasim v'yotzim derech sham. Now, if you just look at picture number 7, which basically says you've got the mechitza in the water there, but you've got it on either side. Can you see on either picture number 7? On either side of the amas hamayim, the bottom picture. So you've got a little mechitza in the water, and it's on either side, and you've got a gap in between the two sort of side planks in the wall. So and you've got the two sides in the water, but it's not joining in the middle. And you've got the water going through between the two sort of boards on either side. If the gap between these two boards are less than 3 tefachim, then shari da'amrin and lavet, because we say lavet, it's as if you've got a proper mechitza there, and therefore you mix it into a proper mechitza, and therefore it's a rishei yochid, and therefore you can take the water from this amas hamayim. But yesh b'neim shloisha tefachim, if however you've got a gap of 3 tefachim between the two sideboards which make up your mechitza, then it's no good because it's not an effective mechitza. Says the Ramah, v'manakovim sham emes hamayim shaham or nichna, v'yetze bohem ein rechavim shloisha, if the gap is 3 tefachim, afilu mechitza ein tzorich, then you don't even need a mechitza, because there's no gap of 3 tefachim, and therefore it's as if there's a proper full wall. Okay, says Mishnah Berurah Sifkat Zayin, Eitzel HaSofa, Mikol Tzad Pirish, but Tzad HaKnisa, but Tzad HaYitzia, also mechitza l'reichav ha'amo. So on both sides you make a mechitza. Ele shelo also mechitza b'tzad haknisa kula b'chatichas achas. Ele b'shtei chatichas. You're not making, like in pictures 1 and 2, a proper mechitza across. You're making 2 boards, like in picture number 3. The be'emza mechitza hinyach mokum ponui. You've left this open space between the two sides. V'chein mechitza shel tzad hayitzia, and so too on the other side. So amin and lovad, if it's a gap less than 3 tefachim, you just apply the principle of lovad. Or And even therefore, you could have lots of gaps. In the picture, it happens to have one gap. That's what we're talking about. But you can have potentially lots of gaps. You make it out of beams, like little bamboo sticks and things like that. Because using loved repeatedly, you've got a proper mechitza there. And even if you've got lots of gaps, the chomash of pachas mishleish I mean loved, because anything less than 3 tvachim you say loved. Near the bezeh afilu mitzad hashenu rachav shleisha. It seems from here that even on one side, if you've got a gap of 3, afal pi kain ain't tzorich tikkun. You don't need to tikkun. Given the mitzad echad who kusasam negamri. So long as on one side it's properly sasam, then you're okay. Ochein loshen yam overes b'teichechotze. Like the loshen is mashma there, which we'll do soon. Okay, Mr. We'll do base tomorrow. All being well.